In this video, I'm going to show you how to use ChemSketch. So one of the things you'll find when you open up the program, you should see that there are these two different tabs, structure and draw. Most of the time, you're going to be using the features on structure, although if there's a reason for you to have to draw a shape or something like that, you might wind up going to this draw tab. So the other thing you want to do is when you start the program, you want to go to Tools and click on Structure Properties. What you'll see is this window will pop up, and you want the current style to be ACS style. There are other styles that are appropriate and look nice, but generally I like to use the American Chemical Society style, and then you would of course save it or apply it, and you'll be all set. So what that does is that sets the bond lengths and the bond thickness and the text size and all that sort of things to be consistent with an ACS journal. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and draw a structure and then draw a reaction to show you some of the features that you might use. This here is the draw feature. There are ways, especially if you were going to be doing some organic structures where you can use like a continuous or this chain feature that will allow you to draw some longer alkyl chains a lot more quickly. Generally, you're not going to need to do that for this class. You'll also see that you can use wedged and hashed bonds. So if you do need to show stereochemistry, that would be how you would do that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a cyclopentadienyl iron complex, and if you saw the SciFinder tutorial, you would be familiar with that. So what I'm going to do is use this templates. So the template window is really useful because what it does is if you pop it up, it does show you a bunch of different already drawn structures that you can use to simplify the process. What you might find though, if I close out of this, is depending on what settings you have in your program, you might need to go to the template organizer. And what that allows you to do is that allows you to check off what types of structures are going to be shown in that template window. So a lot of these should be already selected for you. If you need to add more, that's how you would go about doing that. So what I'm going to do, again, is I'm going to go back to the template window. And if we go to rings, so the rings are really useful because it shows some of these common ring types in a three-dimensional way. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and use this cyclopentadienyl framework. And you can see here that it's this five-membered ring. It's drawn so that it's almost like the ring is coming in and out of the plane of the screen. And you can see that this circle around the ring is just showing that those electrons are delocalized. So again, the cyclopentadienyl ligand is the conjugate base of the cyclopentadiene ring, and it's an aromatic ring. Okay, so I'm going to select this, and now that's going to pop up, and I can decide where I'm going to put that. So I'm just going to put that right here for now. Okay, so what I can do, and it might be useful to zoom in a little bit for drawing these structures. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, starting from the middle of this ring, because this is the convention on how you would draw this structure, is I'm going to draw a line. Now, you can expand it so that the bond is longer. By using the ACS style, what it does is it has a default bond length, but we could change the bond lengths a little bit more later on if we need to by doing some manual adjustments. So what I'm going to do for now, just to give myself some more room to work, I'm going to make it a long bond, and I'm going to change that later on. So one of the things you'll notice is this bond is sort of coming in front of the ring. Okay, what we want to show it is as if it's coming from the middle. So what you can do is you can use this select feature, and you can select this. Now if you go to Tools, you can say that you want to send the bond to the back. And so now it's going to do that. Now I want to add an iron symbol here. So this edit atom label is useful for that purpose. So generally I draw the structures primarily using carbons, and then I'll go back and I'll add different um, different chemical symbols as needed. So I can click on that. So I can type in this symbol for iron. You have a couple options here. You can either just insert the symbol, or you can use what's called this formula style. Okay, I'm going to use the formula style right now. There are some reasons why you might want to use it, and I'll show you that that actually is going to be a bit of a problem for us, but we can fix that later. So what it does is when you use the formula style, what it will do is it will try to assign formal charges. Okay, and oftentimes for metal compounds, the traditional formal charge assignments that we use for organic chemistry aren't really the best way to show charges. So a lot of times we're not going to want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this again, and I'm going to not use the formula style. It'll make things better later, and I'll show you there might be some other instances where that comes up as well, and we can revisit that. So the particular structure that I'm going to draw is I'm going to show it with two carbonyl ligands, which are carbon monoxide ligands. And so I will go ahead, and you could always adjust bond angles later. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the triple bond, add oxygen. Okay, so you can see here that a couple things are going on. It's assigning this formal positive charge to the oxygen. And in fact, if you calculated formal charges, that is certainly how you would calculate the formal charge. But traditionally, we don't show those formal charges on these ligands. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the edit this atom label, and I'm going to put in oxygen. And again, I'm going to make sure there's no formula style selected. And so that will get rid of the formal charge. So I don't have to worry about that. The other thing is I sometimes like for these carbonyl ligands, just for clarity, to show the actual carbon atom there versus the traditional organic bond line structure. So if I select this and I type in C for carbon, again, making sure that formula style is not selected, it'll add in the actual carbon for me. The other thing I want to add, the other ligand I want to add is going to be a phenyl ring, so a benzene ring. So you could do one of two things. One, I could, if I wanted to, use this edit label, and I can use pH for phenyl. Okay, and then if I had to, I can drag that bond. So I could do that. That would be acceptable. If I wanted to actually show the ring, one of the things that it'll do is if I select this ring, and it will actually draw the structure for me here. Okay, so I can do that as well. And it looks like I got rid of the iron, not a problem. I'll just go back and insert it again. Okay, so that's the first structure. Now I want to clean it up a little bit. Okay, and there is a way to automatically clean it up. So I can highlight this here, and if I go to Tools and I click on Clean Structure, okay, you can see it does some weird things. Okay, so for an organic compound, that might be useful. For inorganic compounds, it often does not know how to structure them properly. So I'll undo, And now I'm going to manually adjust some of these bonds. Sometimes these bonds look a little short. So what I'm going to do, and this bond looks long, if I select that atom and I can use my arrows to modify that, and then I can select, might be easier to use the lasso. I can select these carbonyl ligands. Again, modify that. I can use the lasso around the phenyl ring. I can just move things around so that it's structured properly. You can see that the bond angle here looks a little off when I was moving that around. So what I can do is I can use this rotation feature, and I click on that. And then if I go to, usually, let's see here, here we go. So if I move it around until I get this curved arrow, I can now structure this to hopefully get it into a bond angle that is more appropriate. So the way I have this drawn right now is pretty good. I'm going to make this a pentamethyl cyclopentadienyl ligand. So if I just click on these, it will add those methyl groups. I'm going to use the wedge to show the methyl group coming out here, like that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these atoms. And just to get the perspective correct, I'm going to make this one shorter. Okay, these look okay. And I'm going to take this and kind of move that up a little bit. Okay. And you can play around with it so that things look symmetric. Okay, so now that I have that structure, so there's a structure that's been drawn. I want to now make a reaction. Okay, so what I'm going to do is my product is going to be very similar to this compound. So I'm going to use the select, in this case the lasso. I'm going to copy and paste, and then it will let me add this over here. The particular structure that I'm going to show is now where I'm going to show this carbon monoxide coming off, and acetonitrile is going to be a new ligand. Okay, so the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to have to modify this structure. So acetonitrile, we're going to have a nitrogen there. We're going to have a carbon there. And now I'm going to draw another line because I'm going to have a methyl. So this is correct. I can show this just as a single line there. Or sometimes just for clarity, I might want to go in and I might use Me for methyl. Okay, and then there we go. So there's the starting compound. Here's the product. Now I want to show a reaction arrow. So if you click up here, this is the reaction arrow. This little arrow here, this triangle, allows you to select different types. So you can use equilibrium arrows, resonance arrows, and things like that. Most of the time, the way that we show these reactions is we draw the reaction arrow, and then we'll show any reactants above the reaction arrow. If you wanted to show two reactants being added together, you could use this plus sign. In this case, I'm going to use this reaction arrow, and I'm going to make sure my reaction arrow is sufficiently long and that it's straight. Okay, and so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to modify this. So the way that this particular compound is made is acetonitrile is used as the solvent, and then by using UV vis light, ejects one of the CO ligands so the acetonitrile could coordinate. So what you can do is either just manually, either using a text box or by drawing structures, put things either above or below the reaction arrow. But there's also this feature here where if you select this feature and you add that, now it'll let you type things in. And so in this case, what I am going to be using is I'm going to be using acetonitrile as my solvent. And then over here, conveniently, there is this symbol here for light. So I can add that in. If I hit OK, it'll add it in for me. Again, this could all be done manually by using a text box as shown down here. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to clean this up a little bit. What's nice to have is it's nice to have everything sort of centered. And so what we can do is if we select this structure, let's see here, and if I hold Shift, I can select both structures. I can manually move things. You can see that there's a grid system here, which certainly helps. Or what I could do, so I can go to the Draw feature, I can go here, I can center them, and what I'm going to do is I want to center them vertically. So if I click on this, it's going to shift them so that it's centered. Okay, and if I look at everything else, right, everything else seems to be pretty reasonable. Okay, but again, you can highlight things and move things around so that things look nice. All right, so once you've drawn your reaction, you can now copy it. So you can highlight the whole entire thing, copy and paste it into your Word document. What I like to do, I think it looks nicer, is I like to save it as, instead of a ChemSketch file, I like to save it as a picture, and I often use the TIFF format, and then you can insert it as a picture. And in my experience, the quality of the structures look a lot better if you insert it as a picture versus copying and pasting it from ChemSketch. So that is pretty much most of what you need. You can certainly play around, and you can see there's other types of shortcuts that you can use, right? Rather than typing in the atoms, you can select them from here. You can open up this periodic table and do things from there. So there's a lot of different features that you can take advantage of here. But if there's any questions or if you get stuck, don't hesitate to reach out.